Friends, we're still talking about discoveries and what do scientists do when they discover something new. So, today we're going to have a story, and good readers always think about what happens in the story. It's called the sequence of events. So we want to talk about what happens first, what happens next, and what happens last. I got marker on my finger, sorry. So we're talking about the sequence of events. And so good readers are always thinking, I need to remember what happened first in this story, then what happened, and what happened at the end. So today, I want you to listen to the story and think about what happened. How did the events happen in our story? What happened first, then next, and then last. So, remember, we had our fun story about duck and goose. And they discovered something new by accident. They didn't know that they were going to discover something. So they made a discovery by accident. So scientists like to discover things, but they do it on purpose. Scientists don't do it by accident. They do it on purpose. So it's their job. So every time they make a discovery, they learn something new about the world. Now, we are going to read a story about Curious George. Curious George is a funny monkey, and this is a fantasy story. So this means that this story really didn't happen because monkeys don't talk. And Curious George finds some dinosaur bones. So that part of the story is real because scientists have found dinosaur bones and they've learned about dinosaurs. So that part of the story is real, but the rest of the story is a fantasy. So we're going to think about what could George discover and what could he learn about dinosaurs. So there are some words that you need to know before we start our story. Now Mrs. Hoffman's going to try and not erase them this time. The first word is expected. Expected means we thought something was going to happen. So say that word with me, expected. The next word is display. That means anything or a group of things that are put out to be seen. So if we see a display of something, someone made it and they want to show it to us so that we can see it. The next word is museum. Museum is a place where things are collected to be seen. So think about, have you ever been to a museum? We have lots of museums in Salt Lake City and in Utah. So I hope that you've been to a museum. And then if you haven't, maybe when we can go out and do things in a couple of months, you could get to go to a museum. The next one is a quarry. A quarry is a pit where people dig for stones. So here's our words. Expected, say the word. Display, say the word. Museum, and quarry. I want you to listen for those words. So we're going to think about what do scientists do when they discover something. Think about that and think about the sequence of events in this story. Curious George's dinosaur discovery. Now, this is kind of funny because there are two authors for this story, Margaret and H.A. Rays. So it looks like they are married. It's a husband and a wife. So we're going to find out what happens to Curious George. So Mrs. Hoffman, can see if I can make it so you can see it. Oh, we have a table of contents. So the first story is the one we're reading now, Curious George's Dinosaur Discovery. The next one is called Exploring Land and Water. This is George. Now, do you notice the sight words? Some of the sight words are in yellow, so notice those sight words. This is George. He was a good little monkey and always very curious. George loved to go places with his friend, the man with the yellow hat. One of their favorite places to visit was the Dinosaur Museum. Today is a special day, George's friend said. We are going to do something very interesting. George was curious. What could be more interesting than a trip to the Dinosaur Museum? The man with the yellow hat led the way through the museum. George wanted to stop and look at the dinosaur bones, but his friend kept going. So George kept going. Finally, they walked right out the back door. So, do the things in this museum look like what you have seen in a museum before? George and the man with the yellow hat climbed into a van and rode to a rock quarry. Remember our word. Dozens of people were there. Some were digging with shovels. Others were using pickaxes and other kinds of tools. So remember, a quarry is a big pit where people dig for stones or for bones. Surprise! George's friend said. We will be helping the museum scientists dig for dinosaur bones. George was curious. Were there really dinosaur bones in the quarry? He ran over for a better look. George watched the scientist work. She dug up some dirt and she put it into her sifting pan. It took a long time to sift it. And in the end, no dinosaur bones. Oh well, she said. Time to try again. So, do scientists give up? They never give up. They keep working hard. But the pan was empty too. So was the next one, and the one after that. George yawned. So far, digging for dinosaurs was not as exciting as he expected. George was curious. How could he help find dinosaur bones? Do you see those sight words that are in yellow? He found a spare shovel lying nearby. He dug and he dug, but he didn't find any dinosaurs. When he climbed out of his hole, George spotted another scientist. He was dusting something with a small brush. Oh well, the scientist said, this is not a bone, just a rock. So when scientists are digging for dinosaur bones, sometimes they find things that look like a bone, but they're just a rock. George wanted to help. He picked up a brush and he went to work. But it turns out that monkeys are not very good at dusting. As he hurried away from the cloud of dust, George jumped into a wheelbarrow. Maybe there will be dinosaur bones in it. He climbed up to look inside. But the wheelbarrow was awfully tippy. Uh-oh, what's gonna happen? Crash! George, the wheelbarrow, and a whole lot of dirt went flying. Hey, someone cried. What's the monkey doing? George scampered away straight up the cliff. Monkeys are good at climbing, so George kept going higher and higher. When he got to the top, he accidentally knocked a stone over the ledge. Then that stone hit another stone, which hit another stone, and another. Uh-oh. Oh no, it was a rock slide. Oh, look what's happening. George could hardly believe what he saw. What had happened when all those rocks came down? There were dinosaur bones. After that, the dinosaur dig was even more fun. George helped the scientists dig and sift and dust and take photographs of the bones that he had found. And the next time he and the man with the yellow hat visited the dinosaur museum, George got to see his dinosaur on display. Wouldn't that be so fun to find some dinosaur bones? It would be really fun. So think about what George discovered. Think about the sequence of events. What happened first? George and the man with the yellow hat decided they were going to go to the museum. Then what did they do? They didn't stay in the museum. They went out back. And what did they find? They found a quarry. Then what happened? George wanted to help, and he ended up not helping too much. He caused a rock slide. But after the rock slide happened, what did they discover? They discovered dinosaur bones. And then at the end of the story, George got to go to the museum again, and he got to see a display of the dinosaur bones that he had found. So that's the sequence of events. What happened first, and then next, and then next, and then last. So did the scientists ever give up when the one scientist couldn't find anything? Did she say, "Oh, I can't find anything. I guess I'm not going to do it anymore"? Nope, she didn't give up. So scientists don't give up when they are looking for something and they want to discover something. They never give up. I hope you enjoyed our story today. And I want you to think about dinosaurs and dinosaur bones and discovering dinosaurs.